Such fond memories as a kid, arguing with my sister at the top of the landing as my Evel Knievel toy veered into a My Little Pony display. But it was those smells from downstairs and the smells from my kitchen and watching my mother cook that really inspired me to be a chef. And visiting my grandmother, my auntie, both of which were amazing bakers. I have so many childhood favourites, and I'm going to share with you right now just a few of them. I want to inspire you with food that instantly transports you back to your school days. I'll be cooking dishes that put modern twists on some cherished classics. And we'll be learning the history behind some of our best loved traditional treats. But nothing quite gets me so nostalgic than cooking up a roast pork with applesauce, spuds and cabbage, just like my mum used to make. Now, one of my favourite pieces of meat, particularly for Sunday lunch when I was a kid, was roast pork. This is the shoulder of pork. There's nothing better than its slow roast with that lovely crispy crackling and my mother's roast potatoes. But what we need to do is get crispy crackling on it. Now, to do this, you're better off using a sharp knife, really, for this, rather than sort of a knife like this. And what you do is score it. Now, be really careful with this, and you basically just get this right inside, and you just slice it all over the top, quite deep. My method involves mixing chopped thyme with sea salt, and then massaging the meat with some olive oil before rubbing the salt mix into the cuts on the pork shoulder. And what this salt is going to do is draw out all that moisture and create our crackling on top of the pork, which we all want to sort of fight over. And then I'm going to cook this on the actual open tray of the oven. This is often known as sort of weeping cooking, i.e. you allow the juices to drip onto a tray, and we're going to use those juices to roast our potatoes. So what you need to do with this is basically sort your oven out, really. You want enough space in the bottom to put a tray and enough space in the top to put your pork. So pop a tray in first of all, lift out this tray. Now, my best advice really with this is you get yourself like a little cooling rack. Place that on the top because it's easier to handle and certainly easier to get the pork out of as well. Cook the pork shoulder in a low oven for about 4 to 5 hours, which gives me loads of time to get on with sorting out the other bits. First, my apple sauce. You must use Bramley apples. These are unique to the UK. There's nowhere else that grows them like us around the world. They've got a sharpness, taste delicious, perfect for apple sauce. Now, what's great about this is you can make a decent amount. It freezes so well, this stuff. And it's a common misconception. You think it's going to go brown. Actually, you can freeze apples just sliced. They don't go brown. Now, for me, it's not cooking if there's no butter. So that goes in first with some water and the apples. Now, I like to just add a sprinkling of sugar, so the sharpness of the apples really comes through. And then I simmer it all for about 10 minutes. You can add cloves and nutmeg if you fancy, but I'm a man of simple tastes. Now, to make the best roast potatoes, I did actually phone my mother for this last night, this recipe. Now, she always buys good quality King Edward potatoes. So with these potato trimmings, even the apple trimmings we used to give to the pigs, because we were brought up on a pig farm. Hence, you always had the best quality pork around. So once my spuds are in, I just bring the pan to the boil and let it gently bubble for 1 minute only before draining. Nice and quick. Now I just need to cover my potatoes in that fantastic pork fat. Add a bit of salt and bang them back in the oven for 40 minutes. I've turned the heat up for the perfect potatoes and crispy crackling. Now I'm going to teach you how to cook cabbage properly. Doesn't leave you mentally scarred as a child when you end up with this limp, manky, overcooked, stinking your house out cabbage. This is hispy cabbage or pointed cabbage, which I've been told. Because this is delicious when you taste it like this. It is not good when it goes on at the same time as your pork in the oven. So to cook it, we cook it simply. And for me, that means my food heaven ingredient, with water in a pan plus a bit of seasoning. Cook for 3 minutes and it's done. The key to getting it right is to hardly cook it at all. You see, Sunday lunch doesn't have to be stressful. Now, I'm not stressed, chilled out. It's all about timing, you see. Getting everything ready beforehand. And look. Je t'aime, je t'aime. Look at that. How good does that look? Fantastic piece of roast pork. That's what food's all about. And then, of course, we've got our roast potatoes, which has been cooked in all that lovely juices from the pork as well. Oh, they look good. I used to fight so much with my sister over this bit. Crackling. Even now, we still have scraps over the dining room table over this. Sometimes to go forward in life, you've got to go backwards. Go back to your childhood and have some of your favourite meals, because that is knockout. So there you have it, my roast pork shoulder with applesauce and perfect potatoes. A meal made of memories. I think